While history books overflow with the names of famous architects, there's a chapter that's been overlooked. These 10 black architects didn't just design buildings. They reshaped American cities, broke through impossible barriers, and created landmarks you've probably seen but never knew their stories. Let's fix that. Imagine designing over 2,000 buildings in a country where you couldn't walk through the front door of half the places you created. Paul Revere Williams did exactly that, and he did it with style. Born in 1894 in Los Angeles, Williams became the first black member of the American Institute of Architects and the go-to architect for Hollywood's elite. Here's the wild part. Because many clients felt uncomfortable sitting next to a black man, Williams taught himself to draw upside down. Yes, upside down. He'd sit across from clients and sketch perfect architectural drawings inverted so they could view them right side up. Talk about adapting to adversity. Williams designed homes for Frank Sinatra, Lucille Ball, and Cary Grant. He created the iconic theme building at LAX Airport, that retro-futuristic structure that screams mid-century optimism. He designed parts of the Beverly Hills Hotel and hundreds of other Los Angeles landmarks. When he died in 1980, he left behind a legacy that quite literally built the California dream, even though the dream didn't always include people who looked like him. Picture this. You design one of America's most prestigious universities, but the school doesn't acknowledge your contribution for decades. That was Julian Abele's reality. Born in Philadelphia in 1881, Abele became one of the first black graduates of the University of Pennsylvania's architecture program and the first black architect to graduate from the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris. Abele was the chief designer for the famous Horace Trumbauer firm, where he designed the iconic Gothic campus of Duke University. Those soaring towers, the chapel, practically everything. He also designed the Free Library of Philadelphia and parts of Harvard's Widener Library. Yet for years Duke didn't even mention his name. It wasn't until the 1980s that the university formally recognized that a black architect had designed their entire campus. Better late than never, but seriously, 8 decades late? The kicker? Abele never even visited Duke University during construction, likely because of segregation. He designed an entire world he wasn't allowed to fully experience. Before there was anyone else, there was Robert Robinson Taylor. In 1892, he became the first black graduate of MIT with a degree in architecture. Let that sink in. 1892. This was less than 30 years after the Civil War ended. Taylor didn't just break barriers for himself. He spent 40 years at Booker T. Washington's Tuskegee Institute, where he designed dozens of buildings and trained the next generation of black architects. He created the institute's brickmaking program, ensuring that black students could literally build their own future with their own hands. His campus buildings at Tuskegee became a training ground for black architects and engineers who would go on to change America. Being the first is hard. Being the first twice? That's legendary. Norma Merrick Sklarek became the first black woman licensed as an architect in the United States in 1954, then the first black woman to become a Fellow of the American Institute of Architects in 1980. Sklarek worked on massive projects, including the U.S. Embassy in Tokyo and the San Bernardino City Hall. She was the lead architect for Terminal 1 at LAX and designed the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles. In a field dominated by white men, she didn't just participate, she led major projects and mentored countless architects who followed. When she applied for jobs early in her career, firms would literally tell her they already had a black person, or weren't ready to hire women. She powered through anyway, proving that excellence can't be denied forever. Before we dive in deeper, kindly like this video, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel for more untold black history stories. In 1908, Vertner Woodson Tandy became the first black architect registered in New York State. But Tandy wasn't just about collecting firsts. He built an empire of beautiful buildings across Harlem and beyond during its Renaissance period. Tandy designed Villa Luro, the grand mansion for Madam C.J. Walker in Irvington, New York. This wasn't just any house, it was a statement. A formerly enslaved woman's daughter built a palace, and Tandy made it happen. He also designed St. Philip's Episcopal Church in Harlem, one of the community's architectural gems. Beyond architecture, Tandy was a founding member of Alpha Phi Alpha, the first black Greek letter fraternity. He understood that building community was just as important as building structures. While most discussions of black architects focus on the South or big coastal cities, Clarence Wigington was making waves in St. Paul, Minnesota. From 1915 to 1949, he worked as a senior designer for the city, the nation's first black municipal architect. Wigington designed over 60 buildings, including the iconic Highland Park Water Tower, which looks like a castle tower rising from the Minnesota landscape. He created the Harriet Island Pavilion and numerous fire stations, ice palaces, and public buildings that gave St. Paul its character. Working through Minnesota's brutal winters and the chill of racism, Wigington proved that black excellence knows no geographic boundaries. In 1942, Beverly Loraine Greene became the first black woman to earn an architecture license in the United States. This was during World War II, when women were just being allowed into the workforce because men were overseas, and when black people faced segregation at every turn. Greene faced double discrimination and didn't blink. She worked on public housing projects and brought modernist design principles to her work. Though her career was cut short when she shifted to other fields, her pioneering status opened doors for every black woman architect who followed. Sometimes the most important contribution is simply proving it can be done. In the 1930s, Virginia, deep in Jim Crow country, Amaza Meredith was designing cutting-edge modernist buildings. She earned her architecture degree from Teachers College, Columbia University, and returned to Virginia to teach at Virginia State University while maintaining her architecture practice. Her masterpiece? Her own home, Azure South, built in 1939. It was a stunning international-style residence that looked like it belonged in a magazine feature about progressive European design, not rural Virginia. With its flat roof, horizontal lines, and wall of glass, the house was a middle finger to both architectural conservatism and racial prejudice. Meredith proved that black architects could be innovators and trendsetters, not just followers. John Lewis Wilson didn't just design buildings, he envisioned entire communities. One of the few black architects working in Los Angeles during the 1920s through the 1960s, Wilson designed churches, schools, and commercial buildings throughout black neighborhoods. His 28th Street YMCA in South Los Angeles became a community hub, a place where black Angelenos could gather when they were excluded from white spaces. Wilson understood that architecture wasn't just about aesthetics. It was about dignity, community, and creating spaces where people could thrive despite systemic racism. His buildings became anchors for black neighborhoods and symbols of possibility. In 1944, Georgia Louise Harris Brown became one of the first black women to be licensed as an architect in the United States. Working in Kansas, far from the spotlight of major cities, Brown spent decades designing schools, hospitals, and civic buildings. What made Brown remarkable wasn't just her firsts, it was her longevity and consistency. In an era when black women were expected to be invisible, she maintained a successful architectural practice for over 40 years. She designed spaces that served her community, proving that success doesn't always mean skyscrapers and fame. Sometimes it means steadily building, project by project, a better world for the people around you. These 10 architects represent just the tip of the iceberg. For every name mentioned here, dozens more have been lost to history, their contributions attributed to white colleagues or simply forgotten. Why does remembering them matter? Because when we erase black architects from history, we're not just being unfair to the past, we're limiting the future. Young black architects need to see that they're part of a legacy, not an exception. These pioneers designed American landmarks, trained future generations, and proved that talent transcends the barriers society tries to build. The next time you walk through Duke University, fly out of LAX, or admire a historic building, remember, there's a good chance a black architect had a hand in creating it. Their names may have been forgotten, but their buildings stand as permanent monuments to their genius, persistence, and vision. They didn't just build America. In many ways they built a better version of it, one structure at a time, one barrier broken at a time. Kindly like this video, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel for more untold Black history stories.